I'm Gail Willie, and I'm the Executive Director of Missouri CASE. And we are pleased to partner with Let's Go Learn. And not only this webinar, but year-long a partnership with Let's Go Learn to offer Missouri educators a fantastic tool to empower your teachers and your districts to move forward. And I'm honored to introduce Richard Capone. He's a CEO and co-founder of Let's Go Learn and a great supporter of MoCASE, CASE, CEC, and all educators around the country. So, Richard, I'll let you continue.
So who is Let's Go Learn? I founded the company in 2000 with Dr. McCollum. And at the time, our goal was to create the best diagnostic possible that could really inform instruction. And Dr. McCollum used to always say, hey, it has to answer why. Why is the student struggling? Why are they doing well? Otherwise, it's really an accountability assessment, right? And I think special educators get that. Probably about 6 years ago, we really retooled, changed the direction of the company to really focus on special educators because we realized at the time they're the ones who need the best data possible. So that's what we are, hardcore reading and math diagnostic, present level assessment, and then instruction. And now we've also moved into behavior, and we've also moved into life-centered education curriculum with CEC. So we have a partnership there. Now, this partnership makes a lot of sense because, first of all, we are endorsed by CASE, so our platform is endorsed by them, but they've really endorsed us at the highest level, which is they saw that we are a really good diagnostic for special educators. Our SDI is incredible, and the whole platform is really powerful. But with Gail and I were talking, and we know MoCASE for a long time, and part of the difficulty as ed tech companies is at a certain point, when you look at all the big companies, Houghton Mifflin, iReady, Renaissance Learning, Edmentum, those companies become 75% sales and marketing, right? And the problem with that is that ends up driving the price up for products. And so we said, well, why can't we, we are CASE endorsed, why don't we do a partnership where MoCASE vets us? And as a result of that, we really offer all MoCASE members a 50% discount on our products. And that's what we're doing. So all MoCASE members, you will get a 50% discount on our platform, and it's also audible. So if they can actually look at our pricing and make sure we didn't just jack the price up and lowered it, right? So we want to make sure it's a real benefit to you, not some kind of, like Black Friday, people raise the prices and then Black Friday rolls out and they show a big sale, but it was because they jacked up the prices the week before, right? So, and our goal is products shouldn't be that expensive, right? It should be, these are SaaS products that are online. Our cost of good is servers. Obviously, there's more to that too, but it's a lot less than people realize. And so we want to pass that savings on to all of you and help you in your everyday jobs. So did I leave anything out, Gail?
Yeah, I think you covered it. Thank you.
Okay, great. So here's the problem we have. In special ed, a couple of the hardest things is present level identification and progress monitoring, right? So the funny thing is we'll say, oh, you have 20 students. Go ahead and just write their IEPs and write their goals and progress monitoring and be legally compliant. That is huge. So our platform, that's the problem we're trying to address, right? And what we've done is we have one of the best present level diagnostics in reading and math on the market, and the data is so granular and it really goes up and down. Doesn't care what grade level the student is, it goes up and down and finds it. And then of course the model we have for progress monitoring just makes it automatic, which is really incredible. And I'm going to show this to you, and you're going to see the whole system as well. So really, what is Let's Go Learn? We're a precision diagnostic assessment at the top level, reading and math, right? And it goes through and it goes up and down, 44 subtests in math, 7 subtests in reading, and even if you're an 8th grader, it'll go down to kindergartner if it needs it in phonic. Even if you're a 5th grader, it'll go all the way up. It'll go higher, above grade level as well. So we're not only find gaps, we find strengths. And then we also have the formative assessment system. So the student takes the test, the full assessment, and then the teacher can use those reports to know exactly what their present level is. And we now have AI that I'll show you that'll actually write first draft PLAAFPs, and I'll also write SMART goals. And then of course, you've got an automatic course for each student that's created, teacher assigned lessons, and so on and so forth. So the whole system is pretty dynamic, but that's what it is in a nutshell. And the way it works is in practice, the teacher is going to go ahead and do a diagnostic assessment. assess all their students, and then from there, they're going to use the data to write their documentation, set goals. They could analyze the data, and this is where AI is really helping, and this is step two. And then, of course, they can have automated courses that the students just log on and it targets their gaps first. And then as they need to, they do progress monitoring as they see fit, whether it's weekly, monthly. Now, what's really cool about our system is the progress monitoring data, when you give a quiz, it lays on top of the baseline data. So they're compatible. Most assessments will have a 795 RIT score or something weird like that, a scaled score. So quizzes, if you master short vowel or 2-digit by 1-digit multiplication, it's not compatible. But our system is completely compatible. So we call that one-click progress monitoring. Right? Now, of course, we also have all the ongoing professional development to help at any point training, interpreting data, using the instructions. So we do it all in small bite-sized pieces throughout the year. Now, just sort of talking about this, one thing that's also interesting is a lot of times when you have an assessment system, it's nice to say, well, can this system be used across a whole district? And in some districts, we're used everywhere. So they're using us as a growth measure assessment, interventions use us, and then special ed. We really focus from a marketing standpoint on special education just because that's our expertise. And I also say special educators understand what diagnostic means, where I would also argue a lot of general education people don't really understand sometimes the term of diagnostic. And so, but we can be used across the whole district. Same assessment, but every level they're just using different reports, right? The real secret sauce for Let's Go Learn is we're a diagnostic model. So what that means is when normally if someone's a fifth grader, they may get a benchmark assessment and they're going to get items in the fifth grade. Maybe it goes down to fourth grade, but it really is a sliver of items, right? Standards usually. But a diagnostic model says, hey, I'm going to go up and down in each of these subtests, and each of these subtests is a criterion reference scale of scope and sequence of items, and I'm going to find out where your present level is, and above your present level is where you need to work on next. So that's what we do, right? That's fundamentally different than a standards assessment, which focuses on grade level assessment. We actually break standards apart. Now, this gives us the ability to do so much, right? Now, we also are really well positioned because if you have good data, it gives you good results, especially with AI. So there's this term now called context engineering, not prompt engineering. Context engineering is if you want good results in AI, start with the right data, the right information, and then that will give you good results. Here's an example. If I looking at just that place value right here, right? So this is this one student has a score in that area. Take a look at the scope and sequence of place value. You see that it's 2-digit, 3 digits, expanded form, 10,000, 100,000, and decimal place value. So these students are all placed exactly within the scope and sequence. That's what happens when you give the assessment. Everyone is placed into all the subtests. And this basically is really, really powerful, right? These students here, Christopher, his present level is 2 digits place value, but he's working on 3 digits. So again, it's automatic, right? And that's where AI also helps is it grabs this information because it knows our assessment. And I'll show this to you. I'm going to actually have the AI system write some PLAAFPs for us, and it's going to be pretty exciting. Anyway, it's complicated, and yet it's not. Right? So here's an example. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and jump into the system right now. So I am logged into a system. This is a demo server of ours. It's real student data. So these are actually students with IEPs who took the assessment, but their names have all been obfuscated, right? So everything's safe. So what we do on this server is we take real data. So here's a class of some 7th and 8th graders. And let me blow this up a little bit. And so these students have finished the reading assessment. We see high frequency words, word rec, phonics, phonemic awareness, spelling, vocabulary, and comprehension. Basically, we see this student has a maximum score. These are grade level scores. So we're not giving you RIT scores or scaled scores that are very untangible or even a norm reference score. We're saying, hey, they're at high 3rd grade. And that's the maximum score that this student can do in high frequency words. They have a 12th grade word recognition and a high 4th grade phonics, which is also a maximum score. So this student has nailed down decoding, and then they're low in spelling, and they're actually pretty good in comprehension. So right off the bat, we see this data. It makes sense to us. If I want to sort my class by phonics, I can. I just click the sort button. I can also take a look at my class in phonics and say, let's look at that instructional placement report. And now we see these students here. So these students have mastered phonics right here. These three students are working on long vowel, and these students are working on R-controlled vowel, and this student's working on diphthongs, right? So this is amazing. This same data is what feeds into our automated coursework, right? With that, we call it Edge, as well as this data feeds into AI. Now, if I wanted to say, okay, I worked with Aiden and Christina to teach them consonant digraphs, I can now say, okay, great, I'm ready. I'm going to go ahead and queue them up for a quiz. Boom. Next time I say, hey, Friday, take the quiz. And if they pass consonant digraph, it's going to bump their phonics score up to 2.17, right? And then they're going to basically at that point be able to have a higher score, and it'll recalculate total score, and we have one step, we call it one-click progress monitoring. Hopefully that makes sense. All right. Same thing is in math. Now, actually, I didn't even go to the reports, right? I'm not going to show all of them, but there's amazing reports, summary reports, detailed report, and the special ed report. But I will show it to you in mathematics. So let's say in math, it's a little different. We've got numbers and operations, measurements, data analysis, geometry, and algebra. These are strand scores. So technically, to a special educator, this doesn't tell you too much. It just says, hey, Parker, he's at mid or low fifth grade in numbers and operations. I don't know what to do. I have to drill down more. Most assessments stop at that level. I click on numbers and operations. I say, look at this, the green scores. He's maxed out on all these subtests. Place value, he's at 4.9, which means he has to learn decimal place value. And I just know that. Multiplication, he's a little low. Fractions, he needs to work on. And number theory, decimal. So we see exactly what we need to work on for this student, right? So the detailed report will show that if I wanted to look at it. And so let me just run that detailed report, and then I'll show you the special education report. So here, remember what I said? Here's the scope and sequence of place value. He's working on the double arrow. He needs to learn, Parker will identify the place value decimal. That's the next skill he needs to learn in place value. And then within fractions, we see the skills he needs to work on, right? This report's like 12-page long. By the way, this is what got us to create the IEP tool report. Special educators were taking this 12-page report, coming over here, copying one line at a time, and pasting it and using it in their IEP, in their PLAAFPs. And we realized, oh my God, that's so difficult. So that's when we said, okay, let's create, whoops, see here, hit the back button. So we said, let's go ahead and create a tool for special educators. I'm going to say special ed report. And now I can say, okay, well, I want to focus on numbers and operations for the students, their present levels right here. So these are all those lines pulled together within numbers and operations. Parker can correctly round to the nearest hundreds, tens, hundreds, and thousands. Parker can identify 10,000, blah, 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 blah. So this is the present level. I can copy these. And then I also say, what do I work on next? So I'm going real fast, but this is what we train teachers on too. So really the first step is, how do I give the assessment? The next step is, how do I write my PLAAF from this data, right? How do I set my goals? So here we go, look in fractions. I really need to work on these 4 skill areas. And this last one is maybe going to be my annual goal that I want to test, right? So again, maybe I make the SMART goal on this one, and then these might be my short-term objectives, all right? So again, now I'm going to show you how AI could do this automatically too. So this is bridging the gap, right? Right now, you'd have to know how to do this. It's a little bit of work, but if you understand the process, you should be able to, because we're giving you solid data, right? Now, okay, and also I'll pull down, there's some paragraphs as well, talking about the student's profile and so on and so forth. And I'm going to go ahead and show you a couple other things here. So if I want to go to the AI assistant, this is really exciting. I can go to Learning Plan Assistant. All right. And I could say, what I want you to do is, let's go ahead and grab a student right here. And I want to go ahead and write a present level. So you can create global prompts. You can create individual prompts. And we have some built-in prompts as well. So I'm going to say, here's one of our built-in prompts, LGL write PLAAF. So write a detailed PLAAF in paragraph format, list the name of the assessment and your response, provide the date of the last. So it's really short, just some basic information. You could also just say write a paragraph-based PLAAF, right? I hit submit, and now it's going to go ahead, and we push that in there.
Hmm.
And then here we see, here it is.
Nice.
Aaliyah's present level and reading are based on Dora's ELA assessment, right? It goes through, it talks about all the stuff. It literally breaks out what she can and cannot do, right? I mean, I know it's hard to see this, but we've run this 100 times. And right now we have a bunch of school districts who are also we're fine tuning this. So here's the crazy part. Fine tuning this doesn't take programming. It's just English. So it's really about our training team is working with school districts now, and they just make their own prompts, right? They say, okay, like for example, some districts, and Gail, I'm not sure how it is in Missouri, like present levels, I know in Nevada, and they want it like separate paragraph for reading and a separate one for math. Sometimes people want it, combined, but it's pretty interesting. So here I could say a lot. Let's see, Aaliyah's loves creative writing. Her grammar is below grade level. Please integrate this into the PLAAF above. Sorry. And I could even misspell things as my fingers mistype and it doesn't care, right? Because it understands the context of it. So right now, I just put that in there. It says, certainly, here's a revised PLAAF, right? And now it's writing it.
Hmm.
And it still has information. It talks
Amazing.
about, yeah, it talks about masters of font. This is the thing about too. AI is great at writing, and this is technical writing. This is not creative writing, right? In AI, you need to be able to, and with an IEP, you need to be technically correct. And this is where you can add more. So right here, despite, okay, let me see. Her oral vocabulary is strong, blah, 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 which aligns with her passion for creative writing. Despite this, her grammar abilities are below grade level, which teacher input, which impacts the clarity and correctness of her written expression, right? So it's interesting. It integrated it in a very nice way. Now, I could change it some more. Let's say I like this. So I'm going to go ahead and save this export response right here. And I'm going to go ahead and save this right here. And I'm going to say this is uh, Elias PLAAF, right? And I'm going to say the category is present level. And I'm going to call this AI first draft. So we actually have a whole document system now stored inside of our system. It's like your own Google Doc attached to each teacher. So there it is. Now, if I want to go ahead, this is just, it's like a Word file or a Google Doc. If I want to, I don't need this here. It has the intro. I can delete some of this and, you know, I don't need this right here. Modify it. So now, and maybe I tweak it a little bit. So now I'm going to call it teacher draft, and then I'm going to save it. Boom, right? Now this also is where you put prompts in. So if you wanted to go ahead, let's take a look at the prompts. Here are some prompts. PBL lesson, 50 minutes long. Customized math goal prompts, right? There's all this stuff. I could just save it. I could share these with my colleagues. I can make them global. It's pretty powerful. Now, here's where some of the SMART goal stuff comes in, which is pretty incredible. So let me go back over here. And I can now click down on this. So if I want to click on Aaliyah, sorry, I'm not sure how to pronounce that name. We really obfuscated all the names. All right, so it's interesting. Here's what it wrote before, right? I can click on this button here, and it shows us exactly what our system sent into AI. Completely de-identified. It sent the student's first name. It doesn't know who the teacher is. It doesn't know the school district. It doesn't have any other identifiable information. We sent in the raw scores from Dora and then the scores from Adam, right? And so you see, we act as a buffer for some of those people who are worried about safety. Technically, your district never connects to AI. We are connecting, we pass information, we receive it, we display it, but we give you the same interface and interaction like you're using ChatGPT. That's what we use ChatGPT. But anyway, that's sort of how it works, right? It's really powerful. Now at this point, I could also, let's take a look at some of this stuff here. Okay, let's say I want to write some SMART goals, right? So this is where it gets a little harder. And by the way, this is a little bug we have here. We just fixed it, but we didn't fix it on the demo server. Um, identify next 10, let's see here. Identify next 10 math skills to work on. So I'm just going to hit send that. So this is that IEP tool report I showed you where it actually it was analyzing the data. I can have it do it for me automatically. So it's going here, figuring out what skills we need to work on, right? It has these 10 skills. And then this is where you can also, through some other prompts, you could tell it, like if you have a string of skills within here, I may say, okay, well, I want this to be my SMART goal, and these are my benchmarks. So you could do that as well. You could say, okay, in percentages, let's focus on percentages, make my SMART goal. The only thing I'd say there is we'd have to pre-train it on what your definition of SMART goals. So Gail, do districts have do most districts in Missouri have a common format for SMART goals, or is everyone a little different?
And they use the SMART goal kind of algorithm,
Yeah,
this what a SMART is.
yeah,
But
yeah.
and so I think most districts train on that, on what is a SMART goal, and then go from there.
Yeah, but then they may vary on how they test it. Like some
Very.
people may say, "Oh, student will demonstrate mastery by
Mhm.
testing 3 times at 80%," right? Or
Right, right.
okay,
And
yeah,
it's
and
very,
that's something.
student specific too.
So that's something. Well, that's good. So then the teacher can actually say, write a SMART goal. Here, I'll put that right here. Please write a SMART goal in math for students. Also provide reasoning behind selecting the goal area. So this one here, we're actually letting it select it, right? So
Mm.
let's just try this. It's full auto. I like normally saying, please write your SMART goal, focus on percentages, right? And then it'll do it in the format, but I'm just going to go ahead and see what it does. But again, there's a lot, we're giving people the ability to go back and forth looking at this.
Mhm.
And so here we go. Because we're asking it to provide the reasoning, it actually forces it to be more accurate, right? So it starts explaining exactly why it's like, oh, it did pick percentages is lowest unmastered domain with a direct sequence of next teachable skills. That's funny. It picked
Mhm.
percentages. All right. So
Mhm.
here's a SMART goal. By January 2026, given explicit instruction and practice scaffold support, Alaya will demonstrate understanding of percentage by increasing her mastery from a present level of 5.2 to at least 6.9 on the atom percentages subtest, as measured by formative. So, okay, this is great. And then it shows you the benchmarks, right? Those are the skills leading up to it. Percentages, decimal, ratios, proportions, right? And then that's it. So there's my SMART goal, right? This
Mhm.
is huge time saver. Again, I could take this, I could save it right here,
Mhm.
and then save it. And I'll probably get rid of, I don't need the reasoning. That was really just there for me to verify that it's doing it correctly. And now here's my SMART goal, percentage. So I don't technically, this is associated with the student, so I don't have to always put her name in there, but I like putting student's name in there just because I don't know my analness in terms of keeping track of
Keeping
files.
track. Sure.
I, I'm always like I don't like losing stuff in Drive. So this is short-term objective of benchmark, teacher draft, right? Now I can go ahead and save that. Okay, so that is that piece right there, right? And there's a lot more. I probably have about 5 minutes and we want to take some questions. But a couple other things I just want to talk about too is that we do also have the life-centered education, right? That's CEC's transition teacher-led curriculum, and that's something else
Mhm.
that's brand new to our system. So I can come over here and it's totally redid. They rewrote a lot of the domains, rethought everything, and I could go ahead and select, like if I want to select, and this is everything's a la carte on our system, right? So if I want to look at personal hygiene, I want to look at hygiene practices, here's some 6 different lessons, and I can go ahead and take a look at the lesson plan, all with the high leverage practices, UDL. These are really the gold standard in lessons. It shows you the objective, the I can statement, the material and resources, assessment evaluation, and then there's even teacher scripts. So I know I'm sort of going through this quickly. Instructional strategy, step 1, step 2, step 3. Really powerful. Here's another lesson. talks to what you can do for co-teaching. So these are quite elaborate, but we have a separate demo. You guys can look at it too, but that's another option. A lot of transition teachers across the country now are getting this, a lot of programs. We launched this on July 1st with CEC, so it's exciting. And then we even have an AI assistant for LCE. So you could say, you know, what lesson will teach online dating? All right.
Mm.
So I can type that in there. It's actually faster than, because the problem with normal searches, they're keywords, but if I use a synonym for online dating, what's nice about AI is it knows context. So I could go ahead, type this, and then here it is. Here's the lessons, OP1, OP2. Title is Describe Online Dating Platforms. Another one is Describe Risks and Challenges Associated with Online Dating, such as catfishing, scams, and emotional manipulation. So, really powerful. We're trying to integrate more tools like this. We've got so many things in the works, Gail. I tell you, it's like even on some of the pages here where I was showing you, I know we have this in the works. If you're taking a look at your class, let's say you say, well, here's 5 of my students. We're going to add a little button here that says create a project-based learning lesson for these students. And then it'll push those students grade level and it'll say, hey, create a project-based learning lesson on place value for these 6 students, right? So we're doing stuff like that too, right? So if somebody wants some extra materials, we can do it. Lots of stuff to do, and I think we're going to figure out more creative ways of what we can add and subtract. Now, the other big piece about our system too is there is a whole data portal. So when you have an assessment system, people sometimes need to extract data. You need performance band data, state standards prediction scores. We have all of that as well, but that's really in our data portal. So for those administrators who need data, they need accountability, we have that as well. And then, actually, I will show the instruction for Edge. So before I mentioned that, once students are done with their assessment, we create an automated course. Here's the automated course. So let's take a look at this one student, Cameron. I can go ahead and look at his upcoming lessons. So based on the assessment, this student needs 2 lessons at first grade, 3 lessons at second grade, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 lessons at third grade. So think about this. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, within 13 lessons at about 10 to 15 minutes each, this student will get up to 4, plug these gaps. It'll massively. So what we're seeing is the first, 5 to 10 hours of instruction on our system, students are making dramatic gains because we are actually identifying. It's interesting. Look at this. The student doesn't know how to tell time. Well, how many, in higher level math, if you know how to tell time, then you can't do the word problems, Sometimes I even notice a lot of geometry. If someone doesn't know the parts and it says, oh, the baseball diamond does blah, blah, blah. Well, if you don't know what a diamond is, then you're going to have a hard time doing the word problem. So we're really good at filling those gaps. And then, of course, the teacher they can also assign lessons as well. So they don't have to do our full auto. They can just say, like, I want to work on the whole class on area and perimeter basics. I can just assign a lesson to everyone. That is sort of it in a nutshell. It's a it's a lot to digest.
It's a lot. It's a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah.
So if it,
Yeah, go ahead.
say a director comes up and says, where would I even start with this? There's so much. What would you suggest starting to look at? Is it the diagnostics? Is it the whole picture? Is it that golden thread of from assessment to PLAAFP to goals to instruction? How
I
to
think it
how to
really
kind of take
it
a
starts.
bite out of it?
Yeah, it starts with the assessment because here's the dirty little secret. We just expect teachers to do the assessments on their own.
Mhm.
And I would argue, especially in math, it literally is impossible to do a 44 subtest assessment, diagnostic assessment of a student, knowing, look at all these students, right? They're all sort of
Mhm.
in the same grades, but their
Mhm.
scores are so diverse. Their profiles are all over. It's almost impossible to do this. The teacher will figure out over time, but we can do it up front on day one. So I would say
Right.
you have to make the case that you need your own computer adaptive assessment for special ed. You don't want to use
Mhm.
iReady or MAP or Renaissance Learning or I mean
Mhm.
not saying those products aren't good, but they're not designed for special education. They don't
Sure.
have these 44 subs. So you got to make the
Right.
case. Once I have this, it just makes the teacher's job so much easier. So the first
Sure.
step is
Sure.
sort of commit to present level diagnostic. as an automated tool. You obviously can't test every kid, right? Some
Right.
students, if they can't finish an assessment, they won't be able to do it. Um,
Right.
then you roll it out from there. Then, of course, the natural progression is the progress monitoring. You teach them how to do the quizzes. And then what we do is we just help with every task. Like after having an assessment, you need to write your PLAAFPs, you need to write goals. So we just show them how to do that, and it saves a lot of time. And I think especially with the AI tools, this is
Hmm.
huge because
Hmm.
it is a little daunting. I showed you that special ed report. Even to take this data, come over here and know how to toggle back and forth. Oh, these are my present
Hmm.
levels. Let me see what the present levels for measurement is. These are my present level. So it's a little bit of work to do that. And then plus you're copying lines and you're trying to,
Right. Right. So
wordsmith
what's the
it.
average time that you usually spend with teachers to get them up and running? The
You know,
training.
initially it's a 1 hour training, right? Gets them up. That's when they can initially do the assessment and some basic run reports. So as soon as they're done, they can start looking at it. And then what we do is we usually try to do a second assessment after their first testing window,
Hmm.
and it's another hour assessment at most, end to end.
Hmm.
And then that shows them what I showed you here. And
Hmm.
and what we usually do too is after they've done the assessment in the training, they log into their accounts and they start looking at their students
Okay.
and they start doing this with their kids.
Okay.
Right, and that's huge.
That's,
And then
yeah.
from there, once it snowballs very quickly because they're like, oh, wow, I'm saving a lot of time. So then it drives the teacher to learn more. So let me see, there's
Nice.
some other questions here popping up. Why are you using OpenAI, ChatGPT, and how does it differ from teachers using their own OpenAI account? So that's a good question. If a teacher has their own OpenAI account, you do have to sometimes worry with privacy because you don't know if they're uploading files that have the student's name. Generally speaking, if they do have a paid account, there is privacy. So OpenAI is supposed to keep it private. Now with us, it's different. We're your firewall. So when we use it, there's never going to be the student name, the teacher name. Again, you're anonymous. So even if someone said something very, they wrote the wrong thing and they put very descriptive, OpenAI has no idea who you are. You could be anyone in the world who uses our system. It doesn't know what IP you're coming from, right? It's completely anonymous. And so that's what's really, really good about our system. It's a good way if your school district is concerned about privacy, it's a good, easy, safe way to use it. We
Hmm.
also, okay, so here's another thing is I did a blog the other day about seemingly conscious AI, right? So the other thing about it is we don't build up this history. If I come back, I can go to an old thread, like I can click on this thread we did today and it'll stay for
Hmm.
30 to 60 days, but I can continue the conversation. But it is not building up like, oh, I really know Gail, right? And let's say Gail releases some private information. So we're trying to make sure we keep the relationship with AI professional, right? It should be professional. I need to write a plaque. I need to write this. Now, if you want to help train it, you could do it through your prompts. Saying, like, when you write class for me, this is the format I want it in, right? You can control that through writing your own prompts or through district prompts. But again want to keep it professional because we don't want, not that people are going to do it, but we don't want people using this as their emotional crutch. It's not something to vent to. And that's one thing about I'd say it's sort of people laugh about it, but it's an issue with AI. We want to keep it as a professional tool that everyone uses to be productive. Here's a question: how easy or hard is it to implement your AI solution with special educators? As I mentioned, first training is how to give the second training is how do I use reports. In that training, we also introduced AI. So we show you how to do the stuff. And I showed it how you did it today. One of the things we'll do too when we work with the district is we'll set you up with some basic prompts. So we'll ask, like, I like saying, give me some of your PLAAFPs and some of your SMART goals. And our training team could help write some basic prompts that are going to get you 90% of the way there. How does your product differ from Goalbook? So Goalbook is a SMART goal library. So if you know where the present level is, you can grab some great SMART goals. We are different. Our SMART goals we're generating using AI from our data. So it's a very different approach. So you would have to make sure you have your prompts. We have our built-in prompts as well. But you do need to make sure you have those fine-tuned to your school. Now the great thing is it's easy to do it. It's not hard. And I think that's where things are moving. Okay. It looks like we don't have any other questions. So the other piece we didn't, just to reiterate, we're going to be at MoCase. We're excited to be there.
Okay.
And so if you guys come by our booth and check it out, and then also, you're a MoCase member and any quote you get, it's just discounted. I think so. It's pretty simple, and it's a real live verifiable discount for Missouri MoCase. It's the
Absolutely.
only discount in the country that we're doing like this. So we're excited
That's
to
great.
be partnering with you guys.
And we're excited to be able to offer it to our members as a perk of being a member. So
Yeah.
thank you, Richard. And let's go
Yeah.
learn.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. And we will send a recording out probably in the next day or two. So thank you so much for attending. And thank you,
Appreciate it.
Gail.
Thank you. Have a great afternoon.
Bye bye, everyone.